The daily briefing at Galactic Dominion headquarters began as usual with reports streaming in from across their immense empire. Ambassador Zixathara listened to the standard intelligence summaries while sipping her nutrient blend. When the subject of Earth appeared, she almost spilled her drink from laughter. Humanity had launched yet another of their crude metal cylinders into orbit and were celebrating as if they had mastered the stars. "Sir, the humans have completed what they term a Mars mission," Intelligence Officer Kulvex announced with thinly veiled mockery. They relied on chemical thrust, requiring 8 months to reach a nearby planet. The entire council burst into laughter. 8 months to cross neighboring worlds, a trip any advanced race completed in less than an hour. Humans still hurled themselves through space with explosions, like primitives tossing stones. Their swiftest craft crawled at velocities that, by galactic measure, were nearly motionless. "And what other curiosities occupy these creatures?" asked Fleet Commander Felcoso, scanning tactical data on his holographic panel. "They still quarrel internally for resources, sir," Kulvex replied. "Their world remains fractured into nearly 200 rival states, unable to unite on basic issues. They wield weapons capable of planetary ruin, yet lack means to escape it." Ambassador Zixathara pulled up Earth's full assessment file on her private console. Humans had first been detected nearly 5 decades earlier, when their crude radio transmissions first brushed Dominion listening posts. From that moment onward, they became a constant source of amusement for the Empire's citizens. Humanity's clumsy attempts at spaceflight were broadcast as comedy shows across countless systems. The record detailed everything known about their society. They had harnessed fire, farming, and elementary mathematics, yet remained confined to their single globe. Their finest computers lagged behind the power of a Dominion child's plaything. Their armaments hurled bits of metal with chemical blasts. Their spacecraft strained to touch their nearby moon, consuming vast energy and resources. "Another diplomatic request has arrived," said Communications Officer Texanar. "The humans seek entry into our galactic community as equals." The laughter grew deafening. Equals. These primitives, barely splitting atoms, demanded parity with an empire spanning half the galaxy. The Dominion possessed engines capable of shifting star systems and weapons that could sunder worlds. They had subjugated far more formidable species without pause. Captain Jake Morrison sat inside Earth Defense Force Command, scanning the latest Dominion communique. Translation software stumbled over alien phrasing, yet the intent was unmistakable. Earth was invited to join, not as partners, but as a protected territory under Dominion rule. "Protected territory," Jake muttered. "Just another word for slavery. Earth would surrender resources and manpower, while the Dominion claimed to defend them, leaving humanity powerless in its own affairs." Enclosed was footage from the Dominion Entertainment Network. Jake's anger mounted as he watched alien crowds jeer at human space efforts. Their greatest milestones mocked as slapstick, the moon landing equated to children playing pretend. Admiral Lisa Carter entered without formality, her expression a mirror of Jake's mix of rage and resolve. Having dealt with the Dominion longer than anyone in Earth's command, she too was exhausted by their ridicule. "The Council wants our reply in 48 hours, she said, lowering herself into the chair opposite. "They expect compliance or consequences." Jake already knew the meaning. The Dominion had shown no mercy to others. Whole civilizations erased for daring defiance. Humanity had seen the bombardment of the crystalline hegemony, the eradication of the machine collective's worlds. "And the special project?" Jake asked, voice hushed. "Where is Dr. Walsh now?" Lisa scanned the room, though it was secured. The program was the highest secret. Only a few knew its scope. Discovery by the Dominion would mean annihilation. "Kevin believes the power equation is solved," she whispered. Trials have succeeded, but adapting it for full fleet deployment remains untested. Far beneath Colorado's mountains, Dr. Kevin Walsh stood before walls layered in equations. For 3 years, he had pursued humanity's boldest undertaking, while the Dominion mocked. Earth's backward science, Kevin pursued something no galactic species had ever imagined. His breakthrough came from dissecting how Dominion warships traveled between stars. Their vessels relied on quantum tunneling. slipping through dimensions with exotic matter, a process costly and sluggish, taking hours. Humanity's researchers, however, found another path. Instead of burrowing through dimensions, Kevin's team learned to fold space itself. By generating immense electromagnetic fields, they could draw distant points together in an instant. It demanded staggering energy, yet surpassed all known methods. "Doctor, simulations indicate a 97% success rate for single-ship transport," reported his assistant, Dr. Beth Cooper, eyes scanning the readouts. "And multi-ship?" Kevin asked, comparing power charts. "Still unresolved, sir," Beth admitted. "Each added vessel multiplies consumption beyond limits. A fleet jump would drain Earth entirely." Kevin jotted notes. The Dominion Armada closing on Earth numbered over 300. Even with flawless teleportation, humanity's 12 defense craft would be crushed. Yet Kevin had devised a different strategy. The key was not dueling ship for ship, but reshaping the battlefield itself. If Earth's fleet could strike anywhere instantly, then overwhelming numbers might lose their edge. At Dominion Command, Fleet Master Volcanoes reviewed Earth campaign directives. 300 ships for one primitive planet felt excessive, but the Empire demanded a spectacle. Any who contemplated rebellion would see humanity's fate and surrender. "Sir, the Armada is assembled and ready," his officer reported. "Projected arrival in Earth system, 67 hours. Volcanoes smiled at the thought of swift conquest. Earth's dozen fragile craft barely cleared orbit. His lightest escorts carried more weapons than their entire defense force. The fight would end within minutes. The Dominion had subjugated thousands of worlds, many far stronger than humans. This would be another trivial victory, another notch in their endless conquests. Soon Earth would serve as nothing more than a mine and a labor camp. Yet deep beneath its mountains, scientists had built something that would shatter the balance of power across the stars. Dr. Kevin Walsh stood before the colossal. Electromagnetic field generators towered through the underground chamber like dormant titans. Each structure loomed the size of buildings, thrumming with barely restrained power. The very air quivered as millions of volts surged through the precisely coiled systems perfected over years of work. Commander Ben Parker tightened his helmet for what might be the most dangerous mission of his career. As Earth's top test pilot, he had faced every perilous challenge the Defense Force devised. But this was unprecedented. Today he would attempt something every alien race had declared impossible. "All systems green," reported Dr. Beth Cooper from the control room. "Power stable, coordinates locked." The destination lay 1 million kilometers from Earth. Earlier trials had sent small objects across increasing distances, but today a full spacecraft would be the subject. Failure meant Ben could be torn into atoms. Kevin tracked the energy levels climbing toward critical. Humanity's approach to science had always diverged from the galaxy's norm. While others favored refined equations and exotic matter, humans often embraced brute force solutions dismissed as crude. 30 seconds to activation," Beth called, eyes darting across a sea of displays. Dominion ships relied on quantum tunneling, phasing through alternate dimensions with obscene amounts of exotic matter, supported by colossal vessels. The process consumed hours. 20 seconds. Humanity, however, had discovered how to bend the very fabric of reality. By generating fields of staggering intensity, they folded space like paper, merging distant points. 10 seconds, Ben's pulse quickened. Unlike Dominion tunneling, human jumps were instantaneous, jarring, disorienting, yet complete. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, engage. Reality convulsed. The universe rippled as fields reached maximum. 2 locations 1,000,000 kilometers apart fused momentarily, leaving Ben suspended in both before snapping back. "Teleport successful," Beth cried. Her monitors confirmed arrival with no harm to pilot or ship. Kevin exhaled as he reviewed the flawless readouts. The jump consumed just 0.03 seconds. By comparison, Dominion vessels needed nearly 10 minutes for such a span. At Dominion Intelligence, Agent Cormandis studied intercepted transmissions. Human chatter had spiked, laced with mentions of Project Gateway. Though encryption blocked most, fragments spoke of folded space and instant transit. "Endlessly amusing," Cormandis muttered. "They dream of teleportation yet barely command fusion." Dominion scientists had abandoned such trials millennia ago. Folding space demanded exotic matter in star-crushing quantities and energy outputs rivaling multiple suns channeled through world-sized arrays. Even their greatest minds had deemed it impossible. Meanwhile, General Amy Foster convened Earth's commanders in emergency session. Walsh's success proved the theory, but scaling to fleet level was daunting. The Defense Force needed to move together to ambush the oncoming Dominion Armada. Power needs rise exponentially with each ship, Kevin explained. Fleet transport requires every nuclear reactor, fusion core, and... Tighten his chest. They had never attempted multi-ship transport. This battle would be the ultimate trial. Meanwhile, the Dominion Armada advanced at leisure, 300 ships in flawless array. Fleet Commander Velkanos reviewed reports one final time. His war machine embodied the apex of galactic warfare, with weapons that shattered moons and shields powered by captive stars. Humanity's defense force, a mere dozen vessels, relied on chemical rockets and slug throwers. By all doctrine, the fight would last minutes. The Dominion had crushed countless foes under such odds, never losing. Soon, Earth would join their empire, stripped for resources and labor. Velkanos, on the flagship Eternal Dominion, led the Armada with confidence. Each of his warships carried enough firepower to scour continents, their combined might able to fracture worlds. "Sir, we've entered the human system," Navigation Officer Zexthal reported as sensors mapped the primitive solar array. Long-range scans detect 12 enemy ships near the fourth planet. Velkanos brought up his tactical display. The human line formation was laughably obsolete, energy readings barely registering. Magnify. The images confirmed the weakness. Hulls scarred by crude welds, sections bolted on as afterthoughts. Commander Riccal aboard the cruiser, Dark Thunder, chuckled at his targeting scans. His single vessel outweighed Earth's entire fleet. Its plasma batteries could vaporize the moon in half an hour. "All ships report combat ready," Comms Officer Dolvath announced as confirmations rolled in. The Dominion Armada, shields that absorbed stellar fury, hulls stronger than diamond, reactors hotter than suns, was prepared to erase humanity. On the bridge of the UES Liberty, Captain Diana Ross studied the advancing lights through optical telescopes. Each point represented a warship capable of ending her world. "All stations ready," reported Lieutenant Paul Grant. Behind them, refugee ships fled toward Mars and beyond. The Defense Force had pledged to buy time, fully aware it was suicide. Earth's 12 fragile craft looked like toys beside the Armada. The Liberty, humanity's largest, could fit in a Dominion cruiser's bay. Their arsenal, nuclear warheads and kinetic weapons, seemed hopelessly archaic. On Earth, Kevin Walsh monitored global power surges. Russia's reactors ran at peak. Japan's fusion plants funneled output into planetary grids. "Power nearing critical thresholds," Beth Cooper reported. "We'll have 15 minutes before overload." Kevin adjusted the teleportation array with grim focus. One chance to place the fleet into battle. Failure meant instant annihilation. "All ships report teleport drives online and synchronized," Communications Officer Nancy Webb declared. From her command station, Admiral Lisa Carter monitored the final countdown inside Earth Defense Force headquarters, surrounded by screens depicting the imminent clash. Every display emphasized the hopeless odds against humanity, yet she held on to the test results from Dr. Walsh's teleportation trials, convinced they had one fragile chance. Fleet Commander Velkanos opened a broadcast to address the human fleet. This ritual was standard for Dominion campaigns against primitive worlds, both to demoralize opponents and amuse their soldiers. "Attention, human vessels." His voice thundered across all bands as translation software rendered it into dozens of Earth tongues. "You now face the combined might of 300 Dominion warships, the EB, most advanced military armada in the known galaxy." The speech rolled, on with boasts of the Dominion's endless victories and the futility of resistance. Velkanos had delivered variations of it to hundreds of doomed civilizations. The words came without thought as his fleet prepared to slaughter. "Your crude weapons cannot pierce our shields," he mocked. "Your chemical propulsion is too slow to evade our targeting arrays. And your fragile hulls will not endure even our weakest armaments." Aboard the UES Defiance, Captain Steve Collins listened in silence to the aliens' contempt while running last checks on his ship's systems. His vessel carried 40 nuclear missiles and 12 railgun turrets capable of flinging tungsten rounds at a fraction of light speed. Against Earth's rivals, they would be unstoppable. Against Dominion technology, they seemed like toys. "Sir, the enemy fleet is shifting into attack stance," reported Lieutenant Carol Thompson at sensors. On her display, the Dominion formation expanded outward into its typical arrangement. Massive cruisers forming a central spine, smaller escorts shielding the wings. Every ship held exact position, weaving an impregnable wall of firepower meant to annihilate anything foolish enough to approach. Commander Rickfell armed his primary batteries as distance narrowed. His plasma cannons siphoned reactor energy, magnetic fields focusing the searing gas into blades of light able to carve through planetary crust with ease. "All ships prepare to engage," Velcanos ordered as the Armada reached range. These same maneuvers had broken civilizations far stronger than humanity. The crystalline hegemony's energy-born life forms, whose abilities bordered on sorcery, had crumbled within 3 days. The Machine Collective, with its self-replicating fleets in the thousands, had been methodically ground into ruin. Dr. Walsh, meanwhile, tracked the countdown as Earth's power grid hit maximum output. Every human ship was synchronized, ready to jump directly into the Dominion's ranks. The math had been verified countless times, but this attempt was without precedent in galactic history. "Transport sequence initializing in 10 seconds, Beth Cooper announced. As field generators screamed at full capacity, Captain Diana Ross tightened her grip on the UES Liberty's command chair. In moments, her vessel would either emerge within the enemy armada or be torn apart by the violent folds of space. Velcanos gave the command to fire just as his sensors flared with an impossible surge of energy from the human line. Before he could react, 12 Earth ships vanished from his tactical map in a burst of interference that blinded every instrument across the fleet. Space warped violently as the UES Liberty reappeared within the Dominion formation, surrounded by a flash brighter than a newborn star. For a breath, Diana felt her ship occupy several realities at once, before existence snapped back, revealing colossal warships on all sides like steel monoliths. The Eternal Dominion flagship loomed so close she could pick out its individual gun ports. The alien Armada, which had stood in flawless order moments earlier, now rippled with confusion as 12 human ships materialized in their midst. "All batteries. Nearest targets. Fire!" Diana roared through comms. The Liberty's crew sprang into action. Walsh's calculations had been exact, but the psychological shock was even greater than anticipated. Dominion vessels built for long-range warfare now found hostile enemies embedded within their defensive shell, where their giant guns could not align. Commander Ben Parker's pulse raced as the UES Freedom appeared beneath the shadow of a Dominion cruiser so vast it blotted out the stars. Its size made it impossible to attack his smaller ship without striking itself. "Launch every missile now," he commanded. 40 nuclear warheads streaked free, leaving fiery trails. Slow compared to energy weapons, they bypassed the alien shields entirely, already inside, where only raw destructive power mattered. Velcanos froze as his tactical readouts dissolved into madness. The orderly grid of his fleet had erupted into chaos, hostile signals scattered impossibly throughout his formation. Nothing matched known physics or battle doctrine. "How did they appear inside our perimeter?" he demanded, disbelief hardening into fury as his bridge crew scrambled to make sense of the impossible. The Dominion crews struggled to comprehend what had just occurred. 12 human ships had crossed millions of kilometers in an instant, bypassing every known principle of faster-than-light travel. No civilization in the galaxy possessed such technology, least of all a species as primitive as humanity. "Sir, multiple vessels are reporting direct impacts from human missiles," the tactical officer reported as damage reports cascaded across the comms. The mighty Dominion shields, designed to deflect stellar-scale energy beams, proved far less effective against solid projectiles launched from inside their own barriers. Human nuclear warheads detonated with brutal effect, tearing open armored hulls built to resist plasma lances but not raw heat and radiation. Aboard the UES Defiance, Captain Steve Collins found his ship boxed in between two Dominion escorts pressed too tightly to maneuver. Their weapons locked on him, but their firing solutions interfered with one another, preventing a clean shot. "Fire railguns, both targets, simultaneous!" Collins barked. Tungsten slugs hurled at near-relativistic speeds slammed into alien hulls with the force of city-killer asteroids, ripping through armor like paper. Dominion plating that could shrug off energy blasts, many times stronger, crumpled under the sheer violence of kinetic impact. In his underground lab, Dr. Kevin Walsh scanned the torrent of sensor data streaming back from the fleet. The teleportation sequence had succeeded flawlessly. 12 ships, 12 arrivals, no mechanical failures. And now, against all expectation, Earth's crude weapons were proving lethally effective. The nuclear detonations are creating massive electromagnetic disruption across their formation, Dr. Beth Cooper reported. Their own sensors are blinded. It was an advantage no Dominion strategist had considered. Their energy-based arsenal left systems intact. Human nuclear fire, by contrast, threw out EMPs that scrambled targeting arrays and fried delicate electronics. The mighty Dominion fleet. "Sir, multiple reports of critical damage," the comms officer began before another explosion rocked the ship. Across the fleet, Dominion cruisers fell victim to nuclear warheads and railgun strikes. Instead of meeting humans in open formation, the enemy found their walls pierced from the inside. Their tactics turned against them. On the UES Liberty, Captain Diana Ross watched her missiles strike the Dominion flagship itself. Flashes of white fire washed across its armor, splitting plating and venting atmosphere. "Target their weapons and fire again," she ordered as her crew reloaded. The battle Volcanoes had expected to end in minutes was dragging into its second hour with no clear victor. Commander Ben Parker maneuvered the UES Freedom through wreckage and firestorms of plasma. Half of Earth's fleet was gone, but nearly 100 Dominion warships had fallen with them. "Sir, enemy vessels attempting retreat," his tactical officer reported. For the first time in their history, Dominion ships were breaking formation. The invincible fleet was in flight. On the Eternal Dominion, sparks rained from shattered consoles, smoke choking the bridge. Volcanoes gripped the rail as his engineers screamed updates. "We've lost containment on multiple decks. Reactor breach is spreading." His 300-ship armada had been reduced to fewer than 60 in under 3 hours. Primitive humans, armed with little more than chemical rockets and metal slugs, had done what no galactic power had ever achieved. On the Liberty, battered but unbroken, Diana Ross steered through the graveyard of wrecks. Only 4 human ships remained combat-capable, yet they had shattered the illusion of Dominion supremacy. "Captain, incoming transmission from the flagship," Lieutenant Paul Grant reported. The display flickered, revealing Fleet Commander Volcanos. Gone was the confident tyrant of hours ago. His uniform was scorched, his face half-burned. Smoke trailed behind him as the bridge of his dying ship collapsed around him. "Human Commander," he rasped. "I am prepared to discuss terms." The words had never been spoken by a Dominion officer in 1,000 years of conquest. Diana leaned forward, her voice cold and steady. "Your fleet will withdraw from this system and never return. Any Dominion vessel that crosses into human space again will be destroyed without warning." Volcanos bowed his head, pride shattering. "I accept." Across the system, the remnants of the Dominion Armada limped away, abandoning wreckage and reputation alike. The galaxy would never see them as invincible again. Humanity had rewritten the rules of war and survived. Dr. Kevin Walsh watched the Dominion fleet retreat on the tactical displays deep within his underground laboratory, as power slowly stabilized across Earth's grid. The teleportation system had not only worked, it had exceeded every expectation and rewritten the balance of power in the galaxy. Humanity, once dismissed as a cosmic curiosity, had become the most feared military force in known space. "Doctor, incoming transmissions from dozens of star systems," reported Dr. Beth Cooper as her screens filled with messages. The news of Earth's impossible victory traveled at light speed and beyond, carried on every channel, whispered across every world. Entire civilizations that had suffered under Dominion oppression for centuries now dared to hope. The humans had done the unthinkable. They had proven the Empire could bleed. At Earth Defense Command, Admiral Lisa Carter addressed the United Earth Council as the last Dominion signatures vanished from sensors. "This victory belongs to every human soul who stood together," she declared, her voice carrying to every settlement and colony. From the scientists who reshaped physics itself to the workers who forged our ships and missiles, today, humanity has secured its rightful place among the stars. We have shown that freedom cannot be conquered, no matter the power arrayed against it. Across Earth and the colonies, celebrations ignited as her words echoed through the airwaves. The impact reached far beyond the Sol system. For the first time, enslaved worlds across Dominion space realized resistance was possible. The Empire's greatest weapon had never been its firepower but its myth of invincibility, and that illusion had been shattered by 12 human ships. And the courage of their crews, Captain Steve Collins stood on the scarred bridge of the UES, Defiance as rescue craft drew alongside. His vessel was beyond repair, its hull torn and engines dead, but it had bought survival for Earth and victory for mankind. History would remember that Defiance had lived up to its name. 6 months later, Ambassador Zix Thera, who had once mocked Earth as a backwater, stood humbled in the Galactic Council chambers. Where laughter had once followed humanity's name, now silence and respect reigned. "The Dominion seeks to establish formal relations with Earth," she announced, presenting a treaty to Ambassador Robert Clark. No longer protection under the Empire's shadow. This was full membership in the galactic community on equal terms. And most coveted of all, the Council sought access to humanity's teleportation technology. Dr. Kevin Walsh stood before 100 delegations, the equations of folded space shimmering in holographic light. "This knowledge will be shared," he declared, "but only with those who pledge to use it in defense, never aggression. Any who betray that trust will meet the same fate as the Dominion fleet." The message was unmistakable. Humanity had become guardian and enforcer, not just survivor. The age of conquest was ending. Far away, Fleet Commander Velkanos sat alone in the Spartan quarters of a commandeered transport. Once master of 300 ships, now commander of none, he nursed the bitter truth. He had underestimated the primitives, and the galaxy had paid the price for his arrogance. On Earth, Captain Diana Ross accepted the Medal of Galactic Honor from the newly founded Interstellar Defense Alliance, humanity now leading the free civilizations in unity against tyranny. The world once mocked as insignificant had become the foundation of a new galactic order.